What's up, guys? Mike with NRGcreativ. Today's topic, mounts for your Sea-Doos. What's sturdy? What's going to save your camera? And more importantly, which ones are going to lose your camera? Stick around. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today. Yeah, the Sea-Doo. Now, this is the GTX style. You guys all know what the different styles are: GTI, GTR, RXTs, and so on. This is the GTX with this type of hood where you've got the 2 bolts. This is my front mount for your 360 camera. Or you can also see the one back there. It's got the mount for the GoPro. Now, these mounts are not going to lose your camera. As you can see here, this stick here is one that I produce that is a certain length. It screws into the base and it's also secured with 2 thumb screws. This mount's not going anywhere. It has been tested and put through some pretty extreme riding. Take a look at this clip here. All right, so this is the stick. It's not extendable. It's about the same size as a Insta360 stick, fully collapsed, which you can use. But once this goes in here, screws all the way down, and then the thumb screws are tightened. This mount's not going anywhere at all. So I also put a pool noodle on it just in case. And it's really just in case I happen to hit it and it breaks off. Now, there's also a reason why this stick is, you've seen on the back, and I'll show you that in a second, that, you know, I do have one. I've got a couple of them. You can do it at the straight up and down, just like this one is, or you can do it at a 30-degree angle. There's a reason why this is not at a 30-degree angle, guys. It cannot. Number one, on the front of your ski while you're going, unless you're one of these river guys that never get into rough water, you don't want this pole extended while you're riding. You just don't. It's gonna flex. This, where they are anchored into, is gonna break. You're gonna do more damage to your ski than just losing your camera. Guys, don't risk it. You know, I've been doing this a long time. So let's go with, this is your ultimate setup for the front. It just is. Anything else and extend it up, it's just not gonna work. It's gonna break. Your weak point on any of my mounts or anybody else's, and most of the time, well, at least with my mounts, the weak point is gonna be your selfie stick. The other guys, probably their mounts are gonna be weak as well, but let's show you a little bit more in depth. And like I said, this is, I've actually seen somebody on a Yamaha put a 1/4-20 screw up through the piss hole, okay? And that's all it was. And they take their selfie stick and they screw it on to the pole. And the guy actually says, it made me laugh. The guy actually says, you got to put this washer on here on the screw. That way when you tighten your stick down to it, it's not gonna flex. Well, let me give you a little hint. That's not gonna work. Okay, so I'm gonna simulate this real quick. I'm gonna show you guys. This is all aluminum. It's not going anywhere. So the 1/4-20 screw, we're gonna screw this pole onto this base here. And then I'm also gonna show you guys where the weak points are on most of your selfie sticks. So that's tight, okay? Can we all agree that's not going anywhere? All right, so let me set this up down here. All right, so we've got the pole on the base, and we can see that right there. All right, so if we have this secured, yeah, this is really not going anywhere, right? You can see it's really very minor wiggle, but This is what happens when you start extending it. You get it extended up. Guess what, guys? Look at that. That's just from extending your pole. Now put that under the pressure of a jet ski. What's going to happen? Your camera's going in the water, guys. And it doesn't matter what stick you use. So here's Insta360 camera on my setup. You can see, pretty sturdy. It's not really going anywhere. Now, let's go ahead and use an Insta360 stick. Now here is an Insta360 stick. You can tell we can extend it, okay? But all the way collapsed, yes, you can use this stick on my mount. See that? Still pretty sturdy, right? Extend it. Watch what happens. Look at that. And the more you start going waves and doing your back and forth, that's going to snap, guys, on anybody's mount. So you can see, not only that, this is straight up and down. If I've got this at an angle, pointing out towards the front, it's going to put even more weight off the center of this mount. It's going to snap. So that also brings me why I've had the question of why don't I make mounts for Yamahas? Well, number one, I don't have a Yamaha, but I do have friends that have them. And the mount that everybody seems to be trying to make on the Yamaha, which in my opinion is not very strong. So I try and make things really bulletproof. They all want to delete the piss tube. Most people that I know that have Yamahas, that's their telltale thing. They don't want to delete the pisser. So that's a no-go for me. But I do have one in the works that is coming for Yamaha. It's going to be completely, it's going to be solid, guys. The Yamaha mount that I've got coming is going to be rock solid, and it's going to be pretty badass. So nothing like it out there on the market right now. And it will be for the rear of the ski. So let me show you the other two mounts here, and then show you the same thing. So this is my side mount, and this is probably the one that I use the most for the best angles out there. Some people don't have that hood style like the GTX, and they can't use that mount. This one here on all your 2018 and newer Sea-Doos, everybody can purchase this part right here, which is the cup and rod holder mount from Sea-Doo. Whatever your Sea-Doo is, they got different ones. Order that, and you can use this mount of mine, Game Changer side mount. So if you notice, most of the time when I'm riding, unless it's extremely rough, I am extended about there. That's where I get all my shots, and it's fantastic. If it's really, really rough out, I will collapse this all the way down, just like that. It does a phenomenal job. But you can see, just like on this mount is rock solid. So the only thing that's moving, if you can see here, is the actual panel on the Sea-Doo. You can't stop that. The mount itself doesn't move. So, but just like that, you know, it's solid, but the more you extend it out, look at that, the more it's going to wiggle. Don't trust these guys when they're telling you to extend that thing out and it's safe, and that's going to happen. Like I told you, I'm going to show you the weakest point of these mounts, especially the Insta360 stick. It's this little base. This is your threaded part that screws onto the base inside, which all of my mounts, they have that 1/4 stainless steel bolt in it that it screws into. And then you can usually lock them down on the side as well, just for extra support. This right here is your point. So if you've got a mount, it doesn't matter whose it is, like the guy that's trying to do the bolt through the piss tube on the Yamaha, if this is just screwed onto that, this is your point. This is just press fitted up in there. This will start to wiggle without any type of support on this stick at all. This base will start to wiggle, and it will come loose, and it will break right here. This will still be attached to your little screw. The rest of this with your camera will be in the water. That's how it happens, guys. I have tested these things over and over. And yes, I've lost cameras. Do I lose cameras now? Never. All right, guys. The Game Changer angled rear mount. This thing, there's just no way to say it. It's badass. This is the 36mm stick. Still, this has the same weakness of every other stick. It's this point right here. So this will screw down in here. Now, one thing to note on this mount, if you want to use the smaller stick, you can. This mount comes with a reducer that you clip on here. Right now I have it with the optional secure strap. You don't need this, but if you want to run in some really rough stuff, I recommend it. But anyway, this would go down in here with a reducer and screw in there, and you can use the small stick, okay? But you want the most bang for your buck? Get this beefy stick, it's carbon fiber, screw it down in there so it's not going anywhere, and then you can still lock it down on the sides. Guess what? It's not going anywhere. This one also has the optional flag where you can run, if you don't want to run this, you can run a flag in this hole. So that's that mount there. But I want to show you even with this one, and you can see how secure this is. I'm moving the whole ski. Even with your selfie stick, the further you extend it up, the weaker it's going to be, the stick. All right, guys. So this is in your fully collapsed position, but watch what happens. We start extending. With it collapsed, look at that. I'm pulling on it. It's not going anywhere. Rock solid. Let's extend it up. See that? With it extended up, it's really rocking that camera, and I'll point it up there in a second, but it's also even rocking the base of this mount. Watch here. See that? Nobody's mounts is going to prevent that. That is done because the further you get the stick up, the weaker it becomes. Just basic physics, guys. So, point of this whole video is to show you guys what can lose your camera. You know, you spend a lot of money on these cameras, $400 or $500, and it's going to end up in the water. You know, if you also notice, other than the secure strap on the back for some really rough stuff, I don't use tethers anywhere. I use a piece of pool noodle. That way, in the event that I either kick a mount or something freak happens and the stick breaks, you know, the selfie stick, it goes in the water, it's going to float with that pool noodle. So guys, what these guys are telling you, remember, these other guys out there, they're hobbyists. You know, they've got a hobby printer. They make something for fun. All their little gang around them kind of join in and do that. You know, a little square on the back of a Yamaha is not going to hold your camera, guys. Just remember, these guys are not telling you what is the weak point. The weak point is the stick, and it doesn't matter what you do. There's nothing you can do to stop that. Like I said, also, a lot of these guys will show you their mounts in a straight line on a river or a lake, smooth water. That does nothing to show you the strength of these mounts, of their mounts. You won't see them doing stuff like this. All right, guys, so I test my mounts thoroughly. They are tested time and time again before I present them to you, because like I said, I want them foolproof and I don't want you to have any problems. I want you to have fun, and I look forward to seeing those videos. So guys, we'll see you on the water.